Students, during this time, the Hindu Mahasabha and the Rashtriya Swayam Sevak, the RSS, were becoming strong. The main aim of these organizations was to unite all the Hindus and overcome the divisions of caste and sect and reform the social life. In addition, they also gave out a message that India was the land of Hindus who were in a majority in the country. Many people from Congress were also impressed with the activities of the Hindu Mahasabha and the RSS. On the other hand, Congress struggled hard to build a secular understanding among the members of its party.
In addition, the Congress also tried to get in touch with the Muslim people and make them feel secure and eliminate the wrong impressions which were then being created in the minds of the people by the Muslim League, the Hindu Mahasabha and the RSS. The argument made by Congress was that the Hindus and Muslims were not people belonging to two different nations, but were a part of one nation, that is, India. At this time, the British very keenly listened to the fears of the League on the issues of Hindu domination and suggested ways to make the Muslims feel secure.
It was time in India when people felt there was a need for making special arrangements for governing the places with majority Muslim population.
Muhammad Iqbal, an Urdu poet, wrote the famous Sare Jahan Se Acha Hindustan Hamara, which highlighted the need of the Northwest Indian Muslim state in his presidential address to the Muslim League in the year 1930. The name Pakistan or Pakistan, which comes from Punjab, Afghan, Kashmir, Sindh and Baluchistan, was coined by Chaudhry Rahmat Ali, a Punjabi Muslim student from the Cambridge.
These students wished for a separate national status for the new entity through his pamphlets written in 1933 and 1935. Students, the surprising thing is that nobody has taken the idea of Chaudhry Rahmat Ali too seriously, including the Muslim League and other Muslim leaders. They have just ignored the idea as a student's dream.
The failure of the Congress to deal with the fears of domination spread by Muslim League and the policy of divide and rule by the Britishers changed the political environment in the country. On March 23, 1940, the League moved a resolution that demanded for autonomy for the Muslim majority areas in the subcontinent.
Students, this idea did not talk about partition or Pakistan, but this came to be known as Pakistan Revolution in the following years. We have to understand that there were many alternatives which were considered to solve the issues raised by the League, and the idea of Pakistan was one of the alternatives.
There were discussions and debates on this issue, and the idea of a separate nation state of Pakistan slowly started to gain importance. In addition, the Congress also found it difficult to agree to the demands of the leader of Muslim League, M.A. Jinnah. The League was able to convince the Muslims about the benefits and need for a separate nation between 1940 and 1946.
Students, in such kind of scenario, the peasants could think of state in which the Hindu jamindars and money lenders did not take advantage of them. The job seekers, the traders and the businessmen could think of a state where there was no competition from the Hindu traders, businessmen and job seekers. In addition, they thought there would be religious freedom. Besides, freedom for the Muslim elite to run the government in a way they want to. From the period between 1942 and 1945, when most of the Congress leaders were in jail, the Muslim League used the time to build its base.
By the year 1941, Japan began to expand into Southeast Asia, and this meant there was threat to the Indian territories. The British brought Indian people to support the war against Japan, etc. In the spring of 1942, the Prime Minister Winston Churchill was made to send Sir Stanford Cripps, one of his ministers, to India to try and come to a compromise with Gandhi and the Congress.
But these talks did not succeed. But the Congress wanted that Viceroy should appoint an Indian as a defense member of his executive council.
Once the Cripps mission failed, Mahatma Gandhi decided to launch his third major movement against the British rule, Quit India movement. In August 1942, the Quit India movement began. Even though Gandhi was jailed, the younger activists took to strikes and revolutions across the country. The socialist members like Jai Prakash Narayan were very active in the revolution. In the districts like Satara in the west and Medinipur in the east, independent governments were announced. At this point of time, another country, the Communist Party of India, made a decision to support the British in the war. They were alarmed at the attack of Nazis against the Soviet Union. Understanding the threat of the war at the level of the world, they called it a people's war. However, Gandhiji thought India would be able to handle Japan on its own after the British leaves India. But the victories of Japan against Americans and Europeans created a strong impression on the people of India. In the very first place, it was felt that the European colonialists would get defeated very soon. In addition, Japan was an Asian country and could stand against the European powers.
At this point, the Indians felt that they could also fight the British. As a result, the myth of racist superiority of the British was destroyed.
Subhash Chandra Bose, another great leader, found the opportunity that was made available by the issues of the British. He said that independence was of extreme importance and that India should take help of Japan to fight British. Subhash Chandra Bose travelled to Germany secretly and then to Japan and raised an army of Indian soldiers in the year 1942.
But students, who do you think these soldiers were?
The soldiers were the men in the British Army who had been captured by the Japanese when British was defeated in Burma and Malaya. They were the prisoners. Subhash Chandra Bose recruited them in the army, which he called as Indian National Army. Many Indians joined the army later, including women. But Gandhi did not agree with the ideas of Bose and he thought that Japan could not free India. But Subhash Chandra Bose believed in it and led an army of Indian soldiers to fight along with the Imperial Army of Japan against the British for nearly 3 years.
It was a challenging time. There was a point when it seemed like the Allied powers were losing the war.
But as we have learnt earlier, the Russians defeated the Nazi forces in Stalingrad. The Allies, however, regained power and won the Second World War. The Indian National Army of Subhash Chandra Bose was defeated by the British. After this, there continues to be a mystery of Subhash Chandra Bose, whether he disappeared or died. In June 1944, when the war began to end, Gandhiji was released from the prison, and it was again time for negotiations on the issue of independence for India.
Students, now that we have seen the various organizations and the various situations that paved the way for the independence of the country, let us now learn about the people's movements that took place around the country.